Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Speaker Stories interview sponsored by RMS SCPM. This week, we're getting to know our June luncheon speaker, Steve Keller. Steve received his bachelor's and master's degrees in geology from the State University of New York, a professional master's degree in hydrology from the Colorado School of Mines. Steve has worked on a variety of projects, including geologic mapping, mineral consulting and exploration, environmental and groundwater monitoring, and the Yucca Mountain Project. Steve has been working with the Geologic Survey since 2006, functioning as the lead geologic mapper on several Colorado Piedmont projects and CGS mineral investigations. June 27th, Steve and Mark Longman are co-authoring an RMS SCPM luncheon lecture titled Investigations in the Late Eocene Castle Rock Conglomerate, 1869 to the Present, including recent research in diagenesis. Our luncheons are hybrid. You can join via Zoom or in person at the Wynkoop Brewing Company. And again, that's June 27th in downtown Denver. Steve, we're so happy to have you here today, and as our June speaker, thanks for doing this today. And how are we doing?
Very well, thank you. First of all, thank you for the Rocky Mountain section of the SCPM for the invitation to speak, and I thank you on behalf of Mark Longman also. Mark has recently moved to Michigan, and so I'm going to care. He has provided me with the wherewithal to present his part of the talk.
Oh, okay.
Well, so I hope I can carry it off.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. So we like to really get to know our speakers and their background and how they came into geology. But first of all, tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Well, both my wife and I are from Western New York. I'm a Niagara Falls native, and my wife is from the south part of Buffalo. I was a grade schooler in a small town along the Niagara River north of Niagara Falls, and I spent a lot of time from kindergarten through sixth grades outside in this small community that has virtually not changed in the 60 years since our family moved away from it. And my brother and I and friends, we spent time roaming the fields, orchards and woods in that area, and we even got as far as a gravel pit once, which might explain why I'm a quaternary mapper now. I'm not sure. So my family is kind of an Eastern industrial family. People worked in chemicals, graphite, and other heavy industry.
Okay.
I worked I was at home through college, but I paid my tuition by working in a graphite forms factory.
Wow.
During the summers. Not hazardous, but hot.
And so did some of your experiences running around gravel pits or in the Niagara area, did that get you excited about geology, or did you go into college knowing?
I think it got me. I think I've always maybe been a little bit roaming and restless in some ways, or at least I was in my younger years.
Okay.
And I think coming out west, after field camp, that was a big revelation in junior year. We did our field camp in the Western states, and for an Eastern kid to come out and see us for the first time, it was really very impressive, just like it must have been for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I should backtrack a minute and say, pardon me. My wife Mo and I married in 1972, and we just celebrated our 51st anniversary.
Congratulations.
And we have two children. They're in their mid-40s, and we have one granddaughter who's turning 9 in a few days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Congrats. That's quite a family.
We've been here in Denver since 1975.
Oh, wow. And so you when you chose to go to school? Was that just was there something about the program that excited you about going to State University of New York, or was it closest school to you, or how did you
It,
choose?
it was close to home, and I wouldn't say that I was a pretty indifferent undergraduate, but I did get interested in geology there. And then when I started graduate school, I really buckled down.
Okay.
I became a pretty good graduate student and learned a lot and probably made up for some of the things that uh, I didn't learn as an undergraduate.
Okay.
And 20 years later, I was back being a part-time graduate student, this time at Mines. And so I did pretty well there too, but it took me a long time to finish. You
Yeah.
know,
You know,
one
and
course per semester over a 6-year period.
okay. That's quite a story because I mean there's a lot of us that have worked in various industries that have upturns and downturns, and you think about going back to school, and sometimes I don't know for me personally, I don't know how I would get back into it after being gone for a while. How did you handle that, getting back into school at well beyond after you graduated?
Well, there were a couple of things that helped. I took a couple of courses, just signing up to take courses. And then they finally came around and said, well, you're going to need to be in a program if you want to take any more courses. And so by this time, I could see that environmental and hydrogeology were kind of picking up where minerals had left off. Minerals was on the downswing. This is the mid '80s, okay, mid and late '80s, and a former colleague of mine, Dr. Richard Harlan, endorsed me for the program, and I was admitted and did it at the rate of one course per semester from 1988 to 1992.
Oh, okay.
And the company that I was working for at the time, SAIC, reimbursed my tuition.
Oh, that's great.
So I was very fortunate that way.
Okay. It seems in your career you focus on quite a few different things, from mapping to mineral consulting to environmental and groundwater. Do you have a favorite part, or have you enjoyed them all, or what's kept you the most intrigued?
The favorite part of my career is this final phase that I'm in now.
Okay.
Uh, my association with the Colorado Geological Survey began in 2006, and it has continued in different forms through to the present. Um, for the last 7 years, I've been working as what they call a temporary part-time person there. I start. They asked me to come on and help with their mapping program. Doing um, 1 to 24,000 maps, mostly of the Quaternary, um, alluvium, and aeolian sediments in the northern Piedmont. And there are several of us still involved in that program. The Colorado Geological Survey has a program called the State Map Program, which is half funded by the U.S. Geological Survey and half by the CGS's own budget. And so they do about 4 to 6 maps per year, 7.5-minute quadrangle maps in the Rocky Mountains, in southwest Colorado, and in the northern Piedmont.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, the other two places are mostly bedrock, but with some quaternary, and the northern Piedmont is almost entirely quaternary.
Okay.
So excuse me, as an expression, my colleague and supervisor, Matt Morgan, used a couple of years ago. He said, well, we'll make a dirt geologist out of you yet. So, so that's what I am now.
Okay. And so with that project or that series of projects, are you kind of filling in the details that maybe haven't been studied in great detail, or are there areas that just haven't been I would imagine there's kind of base level maps around, right? And you're just kind of
There are 1 to 250,000 maps that cover most of the Piedmont.
okay.
Um, However, the 1 to 24,000 coverage is, um, until we started anyway, was pretty scattered. There are some USGS quadrangles down toward the Denver area and up as far as Hudson, Carter Lake. Oh, and very importantly, the USGS has done a series of 4 maps along the South Platte River Valley, marching west from the Fort Morgan quadrangle
Hmm.
in a continuous line, and they are masterpieces, these
Hmm.
maps. I
Okay.
recommend, if you want to learn anything about the, or something about the Quaternary of Northeast Colorado, these maps and a synthesis report they did in 2019 are just wonderful.
Okay.
I'll try to emulate them.
Are they publicly available?
Yes, you can download them from the USGS Publications Warehouse.
Okay. Good. All right. Yeah, we'll post
And
a link.
I should say that the Colorado Geological Survey maps are also free and available to the public.
Oh,
Can be downloaded from our website.
good to know. Yeah, we'll post links to that at the end of this video series. So
So, you were asking about a little bit about the, what part I like best, and it's definitely with the CGS. I volunteered for them during summer 2006. I was helping a geologist named Karen Hauk do strat sections across the, the valley where Fairplay is. I can't think of the valley name now. Okay. Well, anyway, but then they said, we have this project. Are you interested in helping us with a paleoccurrent study of the Castle Rock conglomerate?
okay.
I said, well, yeah. And I went out with Matt Morgan and a longtime CGS geologist named John Thorson, and who had mapped a lot of the quads in the area of Sedalia and down into Castle Rock.
Okay.
And he was well acquainted with the formation. Pardon me. And he also did a very good report on the geology of the southern Denver Basin, which I recommend. So we spent a day looking at the Castle Rock conglomerate and mostly in the Castle Rock State Park area. And I began the field work as a volunteer. Yeah. In 2008 and 2009, I think I spent several months of each year doing that. And concurrently, I was working as an associate with Barry Dolbear's Barry Dolbear Mineral Advisors.
Okay.
So I had both these things going on at once. Okay. The field work for the conglomerate and doing that, domestic and international work and minerals consulting.
Okay.
And my wife, Mo, was agreeable to becoming the principal earner. And that's what kind of made my career with the CGS possible.
Okay.
So anyway, so the conglomerate project, it kind of drew me in deeper and deeper. And without going into a lot of the details, I got very involved in analyzing the 3,000 measurements that we'd collected of the paleoccurrence there, and the 24 class survey locations, and where we looked at 11,000 pebbles. Isn't that ridiculous?
That's
24 locations, but we were trying to. This was kind of odd because I had field assistants for both the summers I was doing that, but they didn't really know very much about description, and so it was mainly the 60-year-old guy who was down on his hands and knees on the outcrop, and it was the young guy who was taking the notes. which is like the opposite of what it should be.
Yeah, it seems a little
But
backwards.
yeah.
That's okay.
Well, I'll turn it back to you. You can ask me a couple of questions here.
Sure, sure. I wanted to ask you about mentors in your career. I think it's beneficial for our viewers to kind of just maybe talk through like what you think makes a good mentor. If you had somebody in your career that's helped you kind of navigate maybe tougher situations, or just, I mean, I think that discussion is valuable to our listeners and viewers.
Well, I would like to mention some people from graduate school days.
Okay.
Um, my thesis advisor, Dr. Kenneth Fonestock, who unfortunately died in a small aircraft accident at the age of 43.
Oh, wow.
I was to discover later that Dr. Fonestock he was kind of an important figure in some of the early aspects of bed form, the study of alluvial bed forms.
Okay.
And Dr. Richard Gilman, also the State University College at Fredonia at that time, who is still living, kind of helped me to stop jumping to conclusions all the time.
Hmm.
And Dr. Alcott Gates, who has worked both in the Western United States and in New England. He was a igneous petrologist primarily. So in my early career, I would say a gentleman named Bernard Guarnera, Barney Guarnera, who is a supervisor at Dames and Moore Consultants, and also when I worked to work for him in gold exploration for Boise Cascade Corporation. You know, I've had the opportunity to be a mentor now to a couple of summer field assistants who've been with me. Well, see, it's been 3 summers I've had these folks,
Okay.
and you know, I'm old enough now. I was telling one of them that two of my female assistants, one from 1979 and one from 1983, they are both old enough to be grandmothers, which is a little weird when you think of it, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what I've tried to do with these young people who are both very bright and very hardworking is kind of instruct them in ways to do things like in field practices in terms of observation and recording and so forth. And I tell them, you know, I'm giving you a way to do this. Um, I think you should stay with it, you know, ask questions. And if you have suggestions for changes, that's fine. But stay with this method and learn it this way. And then in the future, you'll probably figure out variations and probably better ways to, you know, to do what I'm telling you here.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
you know, I also try to tell them, I also talk to them about, oh, aspects of professional employment. And I ask them, you know, what's it like out there now, you know, because they're looking for jobs now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of them actually are part-timers with us at the present.
Oh, wow.
Um, because I've come in from the field now. I'm getting a little too long in the tooth, especially to be on slopes,
Yeah.
on gravel pits and so forth, you know, so, but they'll be out this summer, both of them.
So you
Well,
provided them with a good foundation, and then they kind of vary that as
yeah,
necessary.
each
Maybe.
of them have been co-authors with me, or currently are co-authors with me on the respective maps on which they work.
Oh, okay.
And so we're doing a lot of back and forth. Uh, they're the co-author reviewers. You know, now there are other reviews that I will go through that are more senior, but as co-authors, um, they get to be reviewers of my work, and you know, so
Okay.
they might find something I missed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Great. Maybe we'll ask a couple maybe lighter questions for as we kind of get toward the end here. What do you have a favorite mineral?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I gotta think about it. Actually, I don't because I've never been much on minerals.
Okay.
But you know what I really like? I like soft sediment deformation.
Okay.
There's something about it that drives me wild.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is really cool.
So I think that, you know, as far as I have a little anecdote about this, I was doing some mapping around the periphery of the Rossing uranium mine in Namibia. Okay, this is in summer 1982. And out there they have a formation called a Precambrian formation called the Chuos-Tillite.
Okay.
And it's easily findable on the internet. You can see pictures of it. Well, I'd seen till as an undergraduate. I'd seen lots of that in Western New York.
Sure.
To see a tillite was a real thrill. Okay,
Okay.
this thing's a billion years old, and it's undergone the same processes that I was looking at in, 15,000-year-old material. Right. So at this one location, I found an outcrop of the Chuos-Tillite with about, let's see, a clast that had probably fallen from an ice block and hit the mud of, in front of the bay in front of the glacier or whatever. Okay.
Whoa. Okay.
And that granitic clast, which was probably about 25 centimeters in diameter, had layers of schist bending up from the bottom around it,
Whoa.
like the layers of mud did when that thing fell into the mud 1 or 2 billion years ago.
Wow.
So I thought that's one of the most, even though it's not a majestic sight, it's probably one of the most memorable things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I'd like to see a picture of that.
I do somewhere.
Okay.
I do have.
Okay. And when you're not working on the Colorado Piedmont projects, what do you do? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, you know, um, I'm not much, I'm not much for outdoor recreation, although because I just have been spending so much time outside in the last 7 years every summer, so I don't do it for fun very much. My wife is an avid walker and hiker. She persuades me to do that once in a while,
Okay.
but mostly my favorite thing to do now is, um, as far as a constructive activity, is stained glass.
Oh, wow.
I'm uh, I'm in the I'm in the middle of doing a depiction of Archaeopteryx.
Okay.
I asked permission of the Natural History Museum in Berlin to use their official image, and they sent me a JPEG and permission to use it. I had it enlarged to 34 by 32 inches and put vellum over it and simplified it to a design that is workable in stained glass.
Wow. That
So I
sounds
have it about 1/3 finished now.
okay. Okay. That's fantastic. How did you get into working with stained glass? Is that just something you picked up along the way?
There used to be an entity here in the Denver area called Denver Free University
Okay.
in the mid and late 70s. And it wasn't like free of charge. It was just kind of it was it was like a virtual university because it didn't have any brick and mortar center.
Hmm.
Okay. It was done on kind of on a volunteer basis, and people from all kinds of skills like music, crafts, other kinds of things. They would offer courses in a catalog, and you could sign up and take the course.
Wow.
So I took a several-week course in 1978, and that's how I got started. I've been doing it intermittently since then,
Wow.
except almost continuously now since 2015. I got back into it in a big way in 2015.
Oh, wow. Great. Um, well, that's fantastic. I've never met anybody that does that, so that's great. Do you want to maybe give us a little bit of a preview of your talk on June 27th about the Castle Rock conglomerate? Like, who should attend and what should we expect?
Oh, everybody should attend. I don't see how you could live without knowing about this formation.
Great answer. Yeah.
Well, it is a little bit out of the line of SEPM. Right? It's but it has depositional features that'll be pretty interesting and a history that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so what I'm going to cover is it's going to be kind of a chronology of the history of investigations into this, but along the way, we're going to talk about a lot of its features and its geologic history.
Okay.
So we actually start with Ferdinand V. Hayden, who was the first United States geologist, the Hayden surveys.
Okay.
He was the first person to describe the rock unit that eventually came to be known as the Castle Rock conglomerate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this, like we were talking about earlier, you and I, a couple of weeks ago, this is really the time to go down and see the Castle Rock conglomerate at Castlewood Canyon State Park. And
Okay.
you'll see why it's so interesting to geologists and to the members of the public and lay people. It just has a lot going on in it. It was deposited by torrential floods. It's full of clasts. It's got giant bed forms. And right now it's got beautiful, now I haven't been down there in the spring since 2011, but it'll have beautiful areas of moss on it and rock pools and little wildflowers, and it'll be wonderful to see.
Well, that's great. I know I've got it on my list as a place to visit, and really looking forward to your talk on June 27th. And again, you guys can sign up online to attend virtually or in person. Our website is rmssepm.org. Steve, thank you so much for talking with me today. Really looking forward to seeing your presentation on June 27th. And again, thanks again.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday the 27th.
All right, great. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day.
Okay, bye. Bye.